my name is Allie, for those of you who don't know me, and I'm the maker behind Crochet in the Mud, where I do both crochet plushies as well as pottery. And this is going to be part 2 of my Stash Bust September series. So we have a lot of yarn to get through. With the Joann closure, I went overboard, which I'm sure a lot of people did. And there are boxes all over my room with yarn, and I have a giant box in my closet with 40 skeins of yarn in it of Bernay blanket. So that's overflow yarn. And then I have 2 bookshelves of one of each color of my skeins. So the biggest problem color I have is orange, because I'm sure it was the same thing in your stores. But once Joann hit that really good discount, everything was gone in terms of Bernay blanket except orange, and in some stores yellow, which I use yellow plenty enough. But this bright orange I typically use as like accents and stuff. So the thing I can think of right now to use up my orange is Clownfish. I think it's 3 different sizes of Clownfish in terms of patterns, and I haven't had them in stock for a while. So my goal is to, hopefully today, it might be more than a one-day thing, but I have this half skein that's been on my shelf, and then this full skein I just grabbed from my closet, which is one of 8 skeins in the closet. So definitely drop in the comments if you have ideas that use a lot of orange, not just like accent orange. Like, I know for sure it is now September, obviously it's Stash Bust September. I'm going to be making some of my Ghost with Candy Corn hats. Everything else candy corn wise, I have a bunch of back stock of from prior years, so I'm not really going to make too much Halloween stuff this year. I need to get on that actually. But like candy corn uses a little bit of orange. But like, drop in the comments what you know that uses a lot of orange. I don't do copywritten items, so please don't suggest anything like that. But Clownfish is all I've got for now, and they do sell pretty okay. So I think we'll start with my big pattern and go from there. My small and my medium are no-sew. And then I actually might have a 4th pattern that I haven't done. I have a pattern pack of Sea Creatures by Crochet Grove that I think might have a clownfish in it, but I don't know for sure. But I will pull up, I haven't made this pattern in a long time. Pull up my clownfish. Yeah, it looks like I might actually have 5. No, one of them's a screenshot. I believe I have 4. Yeah, the Crochet Grove does have a clownfish that I've not made before. So let's start with the large bee, not bee, it's a clownfish, but it was a free pattern where they then used a bee pattern to modify into a clownfish. So I will start there. I don't think I'm going to need that 2nd skein yet, but I'm also tracking how much yarn I use for the month, and so far I already had the white and black out that's currently being tracked, so might as well go for it. The only issue I've run into is this is all of the black I own. I did make an exception if you saw part 1 that I'm allowed to go buy more white, especially because I'm market prepping right now, and my list, a lot of this stuff needs white yarn, and I do have 3.5 skeins, but especially when ghosts are on my list, I might need to make a black skein an exception. Because, you know, you can't really replace black and white. Okay, black is also an exception. I just don't go through black very quickly, so I didn't even think of that. But I will get started on my clownfish, and I think my plan is going to be, assuming this does not get used up on one, I'm going to make 2 big clownfish, I think is my plan. We'll see if I hate myself once I get through the first one. And then from there, make some small and medium ones. And hopefully these will do well. They definitely don't fit my bestseller category at markets, but they're also not in my category of I will be stuck with these for months. So I'm gonna get back to watching my YouTube. Currently I'm watching Stitched by Scott. This is my first time watching them. And of course, I can't find a stitch marker. Here we go. Yeah, I recently added a bunch of new people I haven't seen before to my watch later list, so I'm enjoying it so far. So I realized I kind of just jumped into this video, and just in case you don't know what Stash Bust September is, it is a challenge a lot of crocheters do for the month of September where you're not allowed to buy yarn, and the goal is to try to work through yarn that you don't typically use and bust your stash. So use up as much of it as you can. So while this video and part 1 were using Burnet Blanket, which is the yarns I normally use, I'm kind of like easing myself in to the challenge, but also I have a market here in 2 weeks. But I do have plans for, I really need to use up, when I first started crocheting, bought a bunch of Burnet Velvet yarn, as well as Sweet Snuggles Light and Chenille Home Slim. And I got really into Big Twist Posh that I now am having hoarder tendencies and don't want to touch because you can't get that yarn again. Well, theoretically, Michaels claims they brought the yarn back under a different name. I don't believe them that it's the same yarn, but I bought one of each of the Posh Pearl and the Cozy Cub, and both in yellow, and I have both yellow in the Posh and the Big Bear. I never really got too much into Big Bear, but I happened to find a yellow Big Bear when I was clearance shopping. So that's also on my list to use. But I don't remember where I was going with this. But there's just so much yarn to use. And I also get, right after my market, my wedding is happening. So we'll also be taking a week off from crocheting. But there's a lot going on. Raise your hands in the comments. How many of you also set really ridiculous goals when it comes to market prepping. I made this huge list. I don't know how well you can see. You don't really need to sell the specifics. Of how many plushies I'd like to make. And I've got about half of the list crossed off. But in no world will I ever, unless I make one of each, which most of those things on the list are like better sellers that I try to have. Someone asked me what my ideal number is, and that's always hard, but like aim for like 4 or 5-ish. Where like axolotls are easier, I aim for 2 of each color. If I'm having the whole rainbow, which is of course currently a goal, but I'm really close. I just have my green variant left. And I think because green doesn't do too well, and also the light green of that combo I need for other things and only have a partial skein of, and I love that color. I think I'm going to do 1 of each. So that's just 2 more axolotls, and then they're crossed off, but then 2 of each of every color variant still comes out to about 24. So always have a lot of axolotls. I desperately need to make my cats again, which I haven't had in a long time at my markets. I just realized, normally with this I try to carry, I didn't cut my orange off, but I cut my black off, which I guess is fine. I'll just cut everything but the orange. Or maybe, yep, I'll just cut everything, because why not? But I made such a long list, and then of course there's new things I want to make, but then I always get stuck in the bubble that I do it to myself, where I tell myself that I can only make new stuff if my regular stock is stocked right. I'm saying a lot of the same words. If the things I normally have are stocked well, then I can make new stuff, which was easy this spring because I had months to build up stock. But I have to remind myself it's okay if I show up to a market without mallard ducks. I will survive. And people will be none the wiser, and they will just shop the new items. Like if you could only see my Etsy cart of patterns. Part of me wants to make a video of that, of just going over everything I want to make. Let me know if you'd be interested by that. But I've only bought 2 patterns this year, which is crazy, especially because it's September, and ironically they were both Crochet Grove patterns. So I mentioned her Sea Creature bundle, and then I bought her Brontosaurus, the big and small combo, because is that not the cutest dinosaur ever? Those immediately left the cart and were purchased, but yeah, surprisingly only 2 patterns purchased this year, which is gnarly. But I also have a ton of, maybe one of these videos will be a stash bust my patterns that I purchased and then never made. That's why I now require myself to, I have to make the pattern as soon as I purchase it. So that's why my Etsy cart's so full. But also that would be a lot of patterns I bought and then never touched if I didn't make this rule for myself. So maybe after the market. Now, see, that's also a bad headspace to get in, because then after that market I have that week I'm taking off for wedding activities. And then I believe I have another 2 weeks and then another market, and I just keep starting this cycle over. So I need to just, maybe I'll pick a day of the week to do new patterns. I don't know. What do you do in terms of balancing your bestsellers and making new patterns. Let me know in the comments. I could definitely use some advice. And like, especially with this market I'm going to this coming, or not this Friday, that would be it's Thursday. My market's a week from tomorrow. Okay. Okay, I'm only a little stressed out now. My market's a week from tomorrow. It's fine, it's fine, everything's fine. I don't know. This clownfish is definitely big. I'm gonna have to see what I have in terms of eyes. So I have all of the materials to make eyes if I need. But I'm hoping, I did a bunch of experiments with eyes at the beginning of the year, which the whole point of that was to bring them to markets and sell them and start putting them online. And I finally got a handful of my 30 millimeters listed and barcoded, so I haven't sold any, but I have a bunch that are just laying around, so I'm hoping I can find one of the pairs that's just laying around that I like the color of. So I need to find like yellowish eyes probably, which I might not have laying around. We'll have to see. Yeah, this doesn't look like I made a dent in it. We're going to stay committed to going through an entire skein and a half to make clownfish. We're gonna do it. Oh, sorry, can you tell I have ADHD? What I was trying to say, the market I have coming up that's a week from tomorrow, well, this is the last of the year, but I do this market a lot, and there's returning customers. Like, for a while, I got the reputation when I was first doing this market of being the octopus lady, and people would always come to my booth looking for my pocket octopus, which, excitingly, I have a bunch of new colors that will be available. So I recently went through getting into Premier Basics. Chenille Bright, I think is the title of it. I bought a bunch of their variegated and also the tie-dye line. And I made a bunch of squids with it and then had leftover yarn. Enough to make about 2 to 3 pocket octos per skein, which was exciting. So I now have a bunch of new colors, which of course still new listings. I went through and did a handful. I also need to, I go to my store next week, one of them, and should probably restock them. Maybe they'll get some clownfish if I have the barcodes for it. I don't know. But I think at the end of this round, I'm going to switch to going and looking for eyeballs. What do I even charge for these? See, can I even stay focused? No. Pricing guide. I have so many Excel spreadsheets. Oh, okay. So, my large clownfish, this guy's $28. Which my profit margin is not high enough. Okay, these guys are $32. So let me, where's my phone? Update that on the website as well as my spreadsheet before I mess that up. Then it looks like my small clownfish. Medium is 21 and small is 16. So it looks like in the listing photo for the large clownfish, I've used blue eyes in the past. So we'll see what all I can find. Did I make a note of how big of eyes I use? No, because why would I? Alright, so over here you can see one of my buckets of yarn I need to use. But this is my not so organized, not organized eye storage. So I don't even know what size I need, but maybe okay, let's try these ones out. Maybe not brown. Those are a little hard to see. These are really cool eyes though. I don't know if you can see them on the camera. And some blue eyes. I don't know, is gold glitter? What do we think of that? I think that's what I'm going to go with. Some basic eyes. So this is literally just glitter and resin. So now I guess I'll actually see where they're supposed to go in the plushie. Okay, somehow I don't know how to count. It says between rounds 4 and 5, and I've just put both eyes between 5 and 6 and went, huh, those eyes are really far apart. It doesn't say how many stitches between, but from her picture, it looks like they're about like that. Okay. I'm just not going to overthink it. Call that good, and then it's been so long since I've used resin eyes. Where's my safety eye jig? This is what happens when I try to become organized, because I actually cleaned up and put it in a drawer. And it just took me a while to figure out that it was probably in the drawer. Oh yeah, there's more eyes in there. Alright, hopefully these eyes go on. Here are those eyes in there. And then I'll time lapse you for the rest of the clownfish. And that's the first body done. So I still have to make all of the fins and sew them on. But I think, sorry, it's covered in polyfill because I just stuffed it. I think I'm gonna go ahead and make the second body, and then I'll do all the fins and sewing at the same time and hate my life then. But it looks like I didn't even make a single dent in this. Do I have? Usually on my patterns I have written down how much yarn it takes me, and it's not written down on this one. So maybe a skein and a half of clownfish in one day was a little too optimistic. We shall see. Update, it is now quite a bit later, but I ended up making 3 bodies. I think I only told you about 2 of the large ones. And I made all the fins, and I threw them all in a bucket. Did I sew them together? No, I did not. I'll do it tomorrow probably. But while I was making the fins, I ran out of that half skein. So there's a decent chunk in here, but we still got a lot of ways to go. But I started on the small size, and this is how it's coming out so far. And I forgot, it forces me to not procrastinate. So I remembered that you end with crocheting the tail on. But what I forgot was in the middle of the fish, it makes you stop and surface crochet the fins on so you can tie them together. So these ones are going to force me to finish the small size, which is good for a procrastinator. I mean, I'm not too bad at having whips around. Like, I don't have a gazillion. It's just that I'm not doing right now. I will do it tomorrow. So I guess I'm not a procrastinator when compared to other crochet people. But that's totally okay, however you like to do it. I just know typically I hear people talk about their whips, bag of whips that have just been sitting around for months. I'm like, what do you mean? I did once upon a time have that, which was very handy when it came to Christmas season to be able to just quickly finish stuff. But it's now almost 3 o'clock. I do have an eye appointment, so I probably have like another hour before I have to consider actually leaving the house. So do I have the timing written down? Supposedly these take me 28 minutes. So I probably will have 2.5 done by the time I need to leave, considering I can focus. But right now I'm finding myself staring at the TV instead of working. So yeah. Usually I could switch to an audiobook or music if I'm having issues of watching. But I'm not feeling that right now. So we'll see how many I can get done before I leave. And then we'll probably have to pick this back up again tomorrow. Because, of course, when I get back from my eye appointment, we have a wedding meeting. So I'm not going to get too much done today after I leave. It is the next day. So I finished up my 3rd of the small size. And then I started a mini. It still needs its fins. But I don't know how realistic this goal was, because I still have this much yarn. And instead of using up my orange yarn, which was the goal, it is eating up my black yarn, which this is all I have. And originally my only stipulation this month was I could go out and buy white, but I think I'm gonna have to allow myself to go out and buy a black. But I definitely need to finish up the large size. I need to sew the fins on. But I think I'm going to take a break from Clownfish. I'm going to go ahead and sew the fins on. and then I will try to remember to show you the end result. And then I think I'm going to move on for now, at least to get a little bit more market prep done, just because, you know, these aren't the best sellers as I'm throwing them. So I don't need a gazillion. I currently have 3 large, 3 small, and then 1 mini that still need finished. Only the smalls are finished. And I'll probably, that would be enough to do 1 to each store of each size and then 1 to markets. But I'm definitely going to come back to the clownfish, and I will continue this video, so you are not going to be missing anything. But this is just so much orange left. Part of me is tempted to cheat and make some ghost hats just to use some of it up, because I mean, of course when I caked it I didn't measure it, but this is probably still half a skein. It's so much orange. Yeah, I desperately need suggestions in the comments of what can I use all this orange for. I mean, I couldn't turn the yarn down. Most of the 8 skeins I bought were roughly 90 cents because it was I think it was the second to last day of that store, and because of all of the deal things you could stack on top of each other, it came out to so cheap that, like, that's practically free. I wasn't not gonna buy the yarn, and they only had orange, so eventually it'll get used. It's not going to be sitting in my stash forever not being used. It's just usually orange is an accent color. But I'm gonna call the clownfish for now, and I will catch up with you on another day in case you're curious on how long my break is. Today is September 5th, and I guess I'll let you know the date when we come back to using up orange. So it's now September 30th, and I feel like I owe you an explanation. So I did slowly start to kind of use up the orange yarn. So as I mentioned in the last clip, I cheated and used it for a couple of candy corn hats, and I don't have a clip for you at the moment of the finished large clownfish, but if I remember, I'll get a clip at my next market. If I remember, I'll insert it here. As promised, here are the clownfish. So this is my mini, small, and large. So I have 1 of those for markets, and 2 small and 2 large for markets, and 1 small, 1 large at my store. Otherwise, sorry, but they are in my market inventory, and I don't feel like digging for the clownfish because there's 4 bags, and I have no idea which bag they're in. But I have since finished off the rest of that skein. So most of that was done doing this. So this coming Friday, today is Tuesday, on October 3rd, Taylor Swift is releasing her new album, and the store I sell in Eclectic is doing a listening party, and I'm working that night, so I'm really excited for it. But the store encouraged all of the vendors to have products specifically for the album, and I'm like, I don't really know what to do, and also I don't play with copyright, but you can't copyright color combos. So the album is orange is the main color, and then like this like tealish turquoise is kind of like a secondary color. So I made this dragon, which used most of the cake that was left. And then I also wanted to bring some orange axolotls to the market, and I also made one in the inverse. I haven't decided if I'm going to make an inverse for the dragon, but for some reason this one is giving me like sports vibes, specifically football. So if you know why this is making me think of a football team, please let me know in the comments. But we're on to another orange, what's that, the 3rd orange skein of this video, but there's no way I'm going to finish this. Today is the last day. But I'm also making some chick with frog hats, which uses very little of that yarn. And surprise, surprise, I still have not finished the mini fish. Hopefully I'll get that done today. But yeah, I figured I kind of owed you a little bit of a recap at the end so that you can see a conclusion rather than all, I don't know, kind of ending. So thank you so much for watching. I do see that it's a little bit of a longer video in terms of the stash bust, so I hope you enjoyed it. I still have so much orange yarn left, so please, please, please drop in the comments if you have ideas for using up the orange yarn. All I can think of is clownfish, fox. What other animal's orange? Let me know. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!